the government high circles. Sir, now no person will respect us. Because even if he arrested, he would immediately go out on bail. Because the Central Excise Act, Section 9A said before this amendment that all offences under Central Excise Act as well as under Customs Act, under the Draconian Customs Act, they are all non-cognizable. And hence it is bailable. So generally all non-cognizable offences are bailable. And you need the permission of the magistrate. There is utter chaos in excise law, in customs law. The arrest warrant is signed by an officer. He is in the position of a magistrate. The law does not state so very clearly. It makes a cross reference to CRPC. CRPC is all about courts and police. The law is yet to be cleaned up, yet to be updated on excise provisions. Now, the current budget has made out central excise officers as a kind of revenue police. My dear friends, I want to alert you to this possibility. The changes in this budget say when an excise officer is seized of an offence, the police officer cannot investigate. Government can put out a notification and say that for these offences, police officer should not investigate. Now the department becomes revenue police. Now these changes say that for any Central Excise Act offence involving a punishment of more than 3 years, it will be treated as cognizable, which means that officers can arrest. So the threat of arrest and the threat of prosecution, which has been sort of vacated by the Honorable Supreme Court in Om Prakash versus Union of India, has been brought back. Only thing, they could not do it retrospectively. Because for a criminal provision, there cannot be retrospectivity. They are prevented from doing that. So my humble view is that this has been done as a knee-jerk reaction to a Supreme Court judgment. I think, I don't know your views. There is a thinking in finance ministry circles. Whenever there is an inconvenient Supreme Court judgment, it must be acted against immediately, willy-nilly. There is no study, there is no debate. They are not calling for the views of the society. Supreme Court has said like that. Our officers saying like that. What should we do? There is no attempt to take the views of the citizenry in this country. We are paying the taxes, we are propping up the government. But powers in the Revenue Act are imposed on us. There is no feedback allowed to be brought from the citizens. Why should they vacate? Why should they make law to vacate the judgment of the Supreme Court? You put it in a referendum, will people support it? So, what we should be worried about is this fact. Police can be barred from suo motu investigation relating to central excise. Same provisions are carried forward in customs laws. So, any offence involving more than 3 years in imprisonment is a cognizable offence, which means that the officer can arrest even without a warrant, subject only to executive instructions, if any. And the magistrate should not give bail without giving an opportunity to the public prosecutor to present his case. That means that you are delaying the bail. You are putting people longer in prison. What if the public prosecutor says, I have to take instructions from the government. I have to read the file. I am not ready to argue the case. Which public prosecutor will argue the case on day one, you tell me, against a bail application? You will have to study. You will have to get instructions. So this is intended to put fear into people. So avoid going to jail. If you want to avoid going to jail, then you have to listen to the officer. He has already said, Mr. Bhanushekhar has already said, the motive of the, not motive, motive, the lead motive of this budget is that let us listen to the officers. That is a lot safer for us. So my view is that the provisions relating to prosecution, bail, arrest introduced in this budget have been brought in solely as a reaction to one single Supreme Court case. Is it a sign of maturity in finance ministry? And good news for chartered accountants and cost accountants. The scope of audit has been extended, and the assessees cannot avoid you by saying that I will not give you the document. So you can ask for any document, and within a certain time limit they have to produce to the auditors, to the cost accountant and the chartered accountants. So that is one measure that the professional accountant should be happy about, provided the department is willing and liberal in utilizing your services. Now we come to Senva credits. You remember last year, a lot of restrictions were made in the scope of definition of inputs and input services, especially input services. There was one phrase, input service inter alia includes all services relating, that can be characterized as relating to the business. That was removed last year. The impact was at least 5,000 crores according to a study by CI. Many companies were not able to take crores of rupees, and outdoor catering went out. They restricted. So the tax effect of the Senva credit restrictions amounted to not less than 5,000 crores last year. But this will not be openly declared to the public that yes, we have restricted some facility. They also have a tax effect. The budgets are not honest in laying down the total tax effect. Yes, you bring a new product into the net, a new service into the net, you declare yes, we are getting 4,000. But what about the other changes in your law? They also bring you tax. People are not told that those changes are also going to increase their tax burden. So whenever there is a restriction in Senva credit law, people will have less tax credit. They have to pay more from their pocket. Let us see what has been hit this year. Of course, there are good things also that we should recognize. I will first come to the good thing. Take Rule 14. Rule 14 said, when a manufacturer or a service provider took credit or used it wrongly, then he had to shell out, he had to pay back the credit with interest, as well as there are some penal provisions also. The word used in the law was credit taken or utilized wrongly. Assessees contended that the word or should be read as and. Because when you take credit and you reverse it without utilizing it, it is only a book entry. You are reversing a book entry. Government is not suffering a loss. The balance of convenience is still with the government. They have not been put to some loss. But the department interpreted literally. Even a mere wrong credit will make you liable for tax interest at a high 18%. India is the only country with an indirect tax interest of 18%. It is less than 8% in Canada, less than 5% in Europe. When you have a tax interest of 18%, it is not an interest. It is a penalty. When the government wants refund from you, if they give it, when they give you refund and it is given belatedly, you get a royal 6%. But when you have to make the payment belatedly, you are charged a ransom of 18%. Excuse me, sir. You said government money. The tax credit is not government's money. See, the value added tax system, see, central excise is a value added tax, service tax is a value added tax. The heart of any VAT is the provision of tax credit. When you disallow the credit, it is not a VAT. It is a sales tax or a manufacturer's tax. The heart and soul of any value added tax system anywhere in the world is the provision for credit. The more extensive the credit, the more extensive is the tax, a value added tax. The more you restrict it, the more you have retreated from the core concept of a value added taxation. Right. So when I take a tax credit, it is not government's money. Somebody has paid the tax to the government, they have collected from me, I am going to take it as a credit because I am going to include that value again in my final product and that is going to suffer. So, But that is not possible for manufacturers, sir. That may be possible in service. That is possible in service. In fact, I tell you, there is one draconian provision in central excise law, the like of which I have not seen in any other country in the world, in any other act. See, there is a rule 8, time and manner of payment of excise duty. If anybody is under the impression that he can delay paying the excise duty forever and ever, they should erase that impression. What does that rule say, sir? It is still standing in the statute books. The rule says, if you have defaulted in your monthly excise duty payment, you are allowed a grace period of 30 days. You should debit the tax within for those 30 days with interest. You can't say, I will pay it after 4 months with the same interest. After 30 days, you should remit the tax with the 30 days interest. If you fail to do that, your goods are liable for confiscation. That is one penalty. The second penalty is, you are denied the use of your Senvat credit balance. You have to pay the excise duty in cash to the government. The third penalty is, you have to make the payment every time you have a dispatch from your factory. You are denied the monthly payment. See, I take classes for excise and service tax officers at their academies for the last several years. I know many of them are unaware of their own rule. If they are aware, then most of the assessees are gone. Most of the taxes are gone. It is common for people to default for a period of more than 30 days when the other person has not paid or when there is a problem in their manufacturing unit. But I'll finish it as fast as possible. Okay. Okay. Anyway, sir, I take it. So, and now one welcome thing that I have seen is, normally the Senvat credit changes of the government have not been too welcome in most of the years. But this year, I can cite two things that are good news. One is that they have amended Rule 14. This is the one instance